All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever just stopped and wondered about the pure genius it takes to build something that can fly thousands of miles and hit a tiny target? Well, today we're going to unpack the incredible science behind the modern missile.
I mean, it really does sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? A relatively small object hurtling at unbelievable speeds, sometimes across entire continents, to hit a very specific spot. But it's not fiction, it's very real. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this amazing feat of engineering is pulled off.
So, to really get how a missile works as a whole, we've got to look at its core parts first. You see, every single missile, from the most basic to the ridiculously advanced, is built on 4 fundamental systems. They all have to work together perfectly.
Think of it kind of like a body. First up, you've got the guidance system. That's the missile's brain. It uses things like GPS or special sensors to figure out where it is and where it needs to go. Then you have the propulsion system. That's the engine, giving it all the raw power it needs to fly. Next is the control system, the fins and wings, that steer the missile and keep it stable on its path. And finally, of course, the warhead. That's the payload, the part that actually does the job when it arrives.
Okay, so we've got the 4 main parts, but how does a missile actually get from point A to point B? Well, the answer to that question splits missiles into 2 main types, and it's all defined by the very different paths they take to get to a target.
On one hand, you have the ballistic missile. This thing launches kind of like a space rocket. It flies way up high, sometimes even into the upper atmosphere, or space, and then it basically just falls in a big arc, letting gravity accelerate it towards its target. Now, a cruise missile, totally different beast. It acts like a small, pilotless jet, flying low to the ground and fast, pretty much in a straight line under its own power.
And you can probably guess that these 2 different flight paths have huge strategic implications. A ballistic missile, with its insane height and incredible speed in that final dive, is perfect for hitting large areas from very far away. A cruise missile, though, flying so low, that makes it incredibly hard for radar to pick up. This allows it to make these super precise surgical strikes on specific targets. And that's why they use different engines, too. You need a powerful rocket to get that ballistic missile up into space, but a more efficient jet engine is perfect for a cruise missile's long, low-altitude flight. So, let's put some real names to these concepts. When you think of classic ballistic missiles, India's Agni and Prithvi series are perfect examples. They're built for those big, strategic, long-range missions where you need to cover immense distances. And on the cruise missile side of things, you've got the BrahMos and the Nirbai. These are tactical weapons through and through. They're designed to fly under the radar and hit a target with pinpoint accuracy. So you see, they're 2 very different tools for 2 very different jobs.
But it's not just about how they fly. It's also about what they're for. Missiles are also sorted by their specific mission, basically where they're launched from and what they're intended to hit.
And the versatility here is just incredible. You've got your surface-to-surface missiles for hitting targets on the ground. You have surface-to-air systems like the Akash, which are designed to shoot down enemy planes. Then there are air-to-air missiles like the Astra, used in fighter jet dogfights. And you even have hyper-specialized weapons like the NAG missile, which is built for one job and one job only, taking out heavily armored tanks.
Okay, so we've covered the parts, the paths, and the missions. But there's one more factor that is totally changing the game in modern defense, and that is raw, unbelievable speed.
Now, when we talk about missile speed, we use one word, Mach. It's actually a really simple idea. Mach 1 is just the speed of sound. So Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound, Mach 3 is 3 times, and you get the picture. Missiles are generally classified into 3 speed tiers. You've got subsonic, which is anything slower than the speed of sound. Then there's supersonic. This is where missiles like the BrahMos fit in, traveling anywhere between 1 and 5 times the speed of sound, which is already ridiculously fast. But then there's a whole new category, hypersonic.
And this is the absolute bleeding edge of defense technology right now. Anything that travels over Mach 5, that's more than 5 times the speed of sound, is considered hypersonic. At those kinds of speeds, a missile isn't just fast, it can also maneuver, and that combination, it makes it almost impossible for any current defense system to stop.
And speaking of pushing the limits of technology, you can't talk about advanced missiles without looking at India's Indigenous Development Program. It's produced some of the most sophisticated missile systems on the entire planet. And really, that whole story, that legacy of innovation, it starts with one incredible person, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He's widely known and deeply respected as the Missile Man of India, and it was his vision and his leadership that really laid the groundwork for the country's self-reliance in this critical field. Dr. Kalam's legacy is so clear when you look at these amazing systems. You've got the BrahMos, which we mentioned is the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile. There's the Agni 5, an intercontinental ballistic missile that can travel over 5,000 kilometers. And then you have that highly specialized NAG anti-tank missile.
Let's just zoom in on the NAG missile for a second, because it operates on this powerful principle called fire and forget. Now think about what that means. Once it's launched, the missile is completely on its own. It's autonomous. Its own internal guidance system locks on and does all the hard work. This means the operator can fire the weapon and immediately get to safety without having to manually guide it all the way to the target. That kind of capability is a complete game changer on the battlefield.
So, you see, when you step back and look past the obvious military side of it, a missile is a true marvel of technology. It's this incredible symphony of physics, computer science, materials engineering, and aerodynamics, all working in perfect harmony to achieve one single precise goal.
And that brings us to one final and pretty huge question. With technologies like hypersonic flight and AI-driven guidance systems moving forward at such a breathtaking pace, you really have to wonder, what does the future of defense actually look like?